when COVID happened, I lost all my clients. Most of them went bankrupt.
Wow.
I had no work, so I had to shut the office to keep the office open. Was
Wow,
obviously
talk
very
about dealing with
expensive.
adversity.
Yes, I have known you for a while. Business, you do not have the acumen for business. And he said, I want to give it a shot. Within a year's time, he comes back to me, calls me for a drink, and he says, here's to you, I'm shutting down my company.
Hi, welcome again to another podcast. It's Eghosa Oriaikhi, founder of SeeMe. We are completely excited to have our guest today, Shweta Tewari, with us. Our topic today is female-led, female-owned businesses. However, being that Shweta is a lawyer, we'll talk about the legal profession in general for our members who are considering going into legal profession, who are in legal profession, who need any sort of support. Hopefully this podcast session will speak to you, give you some guidance, and you can certainly reach out to Shweta as one of your mentors to sort of help guide you as you try and figure out your way to achieving your full potential and achieving your ambitions. So Shweta, thank you very much. Welcome to our podcast. Yeah, so good to have you. I've tried to get you on here for so many months.
I know.
Why wouldn't you do it?
So many restrictions on my tongue, to say the least.
Absolutely. But no, we met in the most, I have to say, impressive ways. And it's one of the reasons why when I thought about doing a podcast about female-led businesses and what that looks like, from a positive lens, by the way, I thought about you. Because I joined the Dubai Women's Business Council, and they usually put out an advert to say there's a new member. They attach their LinkedIn profile, and you reached out to me and you welcomed me.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, oh, you were the only one actually who did that in the entire organization. I don't know how many people there are. And that really impressed me. And I thought, okay, I definitely want to be friends with her. But in fact, our relationship transitioned from wants to be your friend to actually being your client now, right?
Did. Yeah. Yes, it did. We're still friends though.
We're still friends.
We just took it a step ahead. And
But the lesson for me there was networking. The power of networking. Yes. I think you reminded me, and it's exactly what SeeMe is all about, is creating a platform of ambitious people in a network who can actually reach out to one another and get support. And we do enjoy our friendship and our glass of wine, right?
Of course.
But when it comes to business, you have been a great support to me. So welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
So I want to know a little bit more about who is Shweta Tewari.
Who's Shweta Tewari? Besides being a lawyer, I am an extremely social person. I keep my personal and professional life completely different.
Okay.
Then I have clients like you who become my friends as well as the remain clients. Journey has been exciting. I get to meet a lot of exciting people from all around the world. And of course, you get exposure to kind of people, you never thought such a young age you will get to sit across the table, really high profile people seeking your advice. So yes, it's been fun till now. Let's see. Never say never.
No, I love the way you describe that. What made you become a lawyer? Why the legal profession?
To be honest to you, it was by fluke.
Really?
Yes.
Because I've never asked you this question, by the way.
Yes. So I was supposed to actually become a journalist.
No.
And the college I wanted to get into, so we had an entry level examination and I missed that by 1%. And I was seriously depressed. Wow. So I went into sort of a depression, young age issues.
Yes.
And my parents said, listen, just take admission wherever you're getting because you're not getting out of the house. It was that bad for me.
Wow.
And I went to the college to take a course, which I was like, fine, I'll do it for a year, prepare for my journalist examination all over again, and then switch the field. This lady across the table said, why don't you try law? You have a personality for that. I said, why not? Let me try.
Gosh.
And turned out I was quite decent at what I do.
You're very good at what you do. Don't say decent.
So after that, there was no looking back. But I think I would have made a decent journalist as well.
I think you would have. You would have argued anybody down on any case.
Yes.
But I like this story. Let's just pause here for a second because SeeMe is all about helping people through their life stages. We want to help ambitious people achieve their full potential. But we're an organization that recognizes that life has its ups and downs.
Of course.
We talk about whole self-mentoring and coaching, meaning we want to be there for you emotionally, psychologically, mentally, physically, financially. And that story you've told, especially for our young members who are either coming into their career, is so key to dealing with whether you want to call it challenges or changes in life, which you don't expect. And something good came out of what you didn't expect, right?
Of course. I don't think I would have been able to take the pressure of journalism as the world exists today.
Yes.
I find it difficult to read the news anymore because of the things that are happening around the world. But yes, this profession, I can help out a lot of people who need my help and also make decent money out of it.
Absolutely.
Let's not pretend we are all here for humanitarian reasons.
Yeah, of course.
But yes, what you said is correct. When I was 17, and by God's grace, I was always very good at my studies. So that was never the failing issue. But certain set of laws in my country did not permit or certain things, the examination, I couldn't crack it.
Okay.
And at 17, you feel like your life has come to an end, right? Because all your friends have got to the colleges that they wanted to go. We all went our ways, and I was possibly the only one in my group. Besides being the most studious one, I actually didn't get the admissions that I wanted. So you go in this really vicious circle of anxiety and depression.
Yes.
I would really tell the young folks that let life happen.
Wow.
Let it happen. If you go with the flow, make the best out of what you have, you're bound to succeed. Sometimes it's best to just let it go. Had I not stuck around in law, I don't know what would I be doing today. I have no talent, Eghosa. Like my talents are so hidden, even I can't find them. So I cannot sing, I cannot dance. I definitely cannot make TikTok. I was telling you on the phone, I'm off social media.
Yes.
So I am not the person who would have made as an influencer at all.
Yeah.
So this is the only thing I know, but it worked wonders. Maybe
it's amazing. You're talking about embracing what you're good at.
Yes.
And not trying to be good at what you're not good at, right?
Of course, yeah.
That's amazing. And look, you look always very comfortable in your job, in your profession, because you're effectively sitting in your place of purpose.
Yes.
And that's what I sense when I'm around you. And you know the law so well across so many jurisdictions. Your client base is so vast. Tell me something, Shweta. When you studied law, where did you think it was going to go for you? I know the 17-year-old girl who wanted to be a journalist and then you went into law, etc. But walk us through your professional journey. How did you then go from I wanted to be a journalist to a lawyer to I now own my own law firm?
So the good thing that happened with me, and I tell all the youngsters, including the interns in my office, law is not primarily what you read in the books, right? Okay. You are a highly educated woman. You can read the section yourself and interpret it. There are so many X, Y, Z things around that law. That is the reason you'll come to me. So you have to understand the business side of it. Okay. You have to understand what the client's requirements are. The client is not asking you read the section from the book, right? The client is asking you what can be interpreted. When I go to court, what will happen, right? So I tell all the young ones, take out time and get trained. Get trained under a good mentor. Okay. Not a mentor where it's a toxic environment. And in my profession, it's very common with the work cycle and the pressures and everything. Okay. It can get toxic. I was very lucky when I was young. I found an amazing mentor. Wow. He was a very high-profile lawyer. So for him, I was just a child. And he found something in me. He thought, like, okay, you're really brilliant at what you do, so I'm going to take a lot of interest in you. Yeah. There was no sense of insecurity because he was this really high-profile, successful lawyer. And that is when I used to see him. I was like, this is what I want to be. And he was by far one of the coolest lawyers. You've seen Harvey Specter, right?
Yes,
so I literally worked with the Harvey Specter in my real life. So that was my guiding force. Every time I would look at my mentor and say, if he can do it, what's stopping me? Wow. Until date, when I moved to Dubai and I set up this office, the only thing he said was, and he's never appreciated what I've done. He would just say, that's it. Only thing he said was, commendable. What you've done is really commendable at your age. That's all. I was like, okay, this is like securing 5 stars because this man would not compliment anyone. Right. But I got lucky. I got really lucky with really amazing mentors in my life.
I love the example you give because it lets us know that mentors can be any gender, any age bracket. Because sometimes I think people think mentors have to look like them, be like them. A mentor is anyone who brings out the best in you and can inspire you. And you were lucky to come across this individual who you seem to speak so highly of.
Especially in my profession, because there are a lot of insecurities, if you would see, like any business, to be honest to you, where the seniors are not comfortable with assigning work to juniors because of the fear of they may take away the client, which is quite a small, it's quite a reasonable fear. But when you work with a mentor and he gives you a free hand and he's confident enough in himself, says, go for it. It's my client. You run the show. If anything goes bad, I'll be there to take care of it.
Amazing.
That's a different way of working then.
Yeah. That's amazing. Look, why don't we just, again, talk a little bit about the legal profession? the highs, the lows. For anyone considering going through law, I want some advice from you for our listeners. And then for those in the corporate world, tell us what does life look like? So let's start with the advice for anyone starting going into it.
Initial years, no sleep, dark circles.
Okay.
You will lose your hair. You will gain weight.
Don't scare anybody off, please. Is that because you're trying to prove yourself?
No, it's because you rather do it when you are young, because the older you get, it gets difficult to deal with that kind of pressure.
Okay.
Be like a clay.
Okay.
Let yourself get molded. Find a correct mentor who guides you. I've been very adamant about this, that when you're starting your career, start with a smaller setup.
Okay.
Don't go for immediately a big four or a big law firm.
Okay.
Because the exposure that they give to the real world is very restrictive. They restrict you to only cabin work, sit at the job, just feed in the information in already prepared contract. That's not law.
Right.
How negotiations happen, how you approach a client, how do you speak to a client. There are so many parts which you will only understand when you're actually sitting in the negotiations, when you have dealt with the real life scenarios. So I always tell my juniors, work with a smaller setup, even though the money will not be great. I to be honest with you, my first salary was 800 dirhams.
No.
And I was
after graduating.
After graduating.
I think some people on TikTok make a lot more than that.
Oh, they charge more than that for an hour.
Yeah.
Why do you think I have no talent? I have to restrict myself to it. So and it did bother me, because a lot of my friends were getting a job, say around 5,000 dirhams, right? Starting job. And I was making barely 800 dirhams.
Yeah.
But I realized in the longer run, this will give me a stepping stone to be on my own. Because if I get stuck in that cycle of promotions, right? You get so many clients, you do so many deals, promotion, eventually it's exhaustion.
Yes.
80% of my peers actually quit law.
Really?
Because the pressure is so much when you're starting your career, especially when you go in the big law firms, it will run you out.
Okay.
And it was a very conscious decision I made, that I am doing this once I've got the knowledge. So I actually joined my first big law firm when I was 28.
Wow.
And I did not like it, so I quit it within 6 months. And my boss kept, poor thing, calling me back, though, we want you, we're willing to offer you more salary. But the reality was, I knew I was not cut out for that. I was not meant to be another brick in the wall. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes. That's probably why you started your own company.
Yes, because I couldn't find an escape from this sets rules.
Yes.
And I don't believe in my profession there can be set of rules, right?
Okay.
It's ever evolving.
Okay.
My profession is ever changing. You come across a deal where 3 more laws have been introduced. Why not take an advantage of a new law, make a structure which is more favorable from the client, especially from tax perspective.
Right.
You've been a UK citizen, and most of your deals back in the UK would be focused on tax perspective.
Of course.
Same goes for in India. And when you work in a big law firm, there is a memorandum given by the law firm, said that you have to advise clients XYZ, ABC.
Absolutely.
So you reach to a point where your mind is in a rut. You're not actually applying your mind. And that's what I don't want for my kids.
Okay.
Especially the interns who are working under me. I'll tell them, do it. If anything goes wrong, I'm still there.
Okay.
But you have to learn to run the show on your own.
Okay.
Your eventual goal should be, even if you have 6 clients, they should be your clients for the rest of your life.
Okay. So you've almost covered what it's like to start up and also being corporate. So let's talk about your transition to starting your own law firm. How many years ago did you do this?
That was in 2019.
Okay.
When I set up my own show.
A long time ago, yeah.
Yeah. But then 3 years, you'll be surprised, when COVID happened, I lost all my clients. Most of them went bankrupt.
Wow.
I had no work, so I had to shut the office to keep the office open. Was obviously
talk
very
about dealing with
expensive.
adversity.
Yes. It was...
I didn't know that.
So, because most of my clients were in F&B.
Okay.
And in India, we had very severe restrictions on F&B sector, trading sectors, all of those. Barring the medical sector, everything was pretty much shut. So my chunk of clients went actually bankrupt.
Gosh.
I had 6 months of money to pay the juniors. And after that, I said, I don't have the money.
Yeah.
You guys can figure out a job if you get a job. Or you can stick around and let the work start all over again. I'll start paying you as and when I can. Because the rentals were there, electricity bills, admin has to be paid. So 3 of my juniors left, and when the work started again, they came back, and then there's no turning back from then. I'll be honest with you, I did not think that I would run the show anymore. I was considering taking up a job myself at that time.
You know what's so funny? I thought I was bringing you here to have a conversation about how to start your own company, but you're having some serious nuggets here about life lessons. Even I moved listening to you.
Really?
I really am, honestly, because you've raised what it's like to deal with adversity, what it's like to embrace change as a 17-year-old, what it's like to have, just the real spine and the backbone to ride the waves of life. Because COVID happened to everyone's career. We all faced it in different ways. Some people didn't lose their jobs. Some people did. Some people were not affected, but some people were mentally, or, their relationships were affected. So we all experienced it differently. I didn't know that your business had actually come to such a point and you had to make such decisions. Wow. So here we are now in the depth of entrepreneurship.
It is. It is right
now
the way,
female-owned, female-led.
I always
And so
did right
you
the way.
actually thought about going back to another job.
I was contemplating. My ex-boss called me back and he
Okay.
said, you want to consider join us with a very high paycheck and stuff.
Yes.
And like I said, I thought to myself, it's going to be that vicious circle again. And by then I already had the books. I had the income. I had the clients. I said, if I get into this, I will become another brick in the wall.
Okay.
I'll work for the firm's brand. I will not be allowed to take my calls over what I feel should be correct for the client.
Okay.
It'll be just a job
Okay.
where promotions will happen. Eventually, I'll make senior. I'll be a partner. Then what? So I said,
But that's a worthy path for some other people. Let's not
no,
minimize it.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's,
It wasn't your path.
It's not my path.
Yes,
I
yes.
have to. I'll give you an example of a client of mine. And I told him the first time I met him, very, very intelligent person. I said, I gave him an honest opinion when I first met him. And I said, I don't think business is cut out for you. Okay.
Wow.
And I was upfront. I was sitting with him because the kind of investment he was making in setting up his company. I said, I have known you for a while. Business, you do not have the acumen for business. And he said, I want to give it a shot. And by God's grace, there was no dearth of money for him.
Okay.
So he gave it a shot. Within a year's time, he comes back to me, calls me for a drink, and he says, here's to you, I'm shutting down my company. I'm going back and taking a job. So I said, it's not that. It's everyone's path is different.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yes.
And honestly speaking, do what suits you.
Yes.
Just because that's my path does not mean it has to suit you.
Yes.
Absolutely. A lot of my friends make a lot more money and there's a comfort in there as well.
Yes.
I just thought I'm better off being on my own. That's all.
So now you have a law firm that has offices in India.
Yes.
And then you moved to Dubai to also start up
Yes.
your
here.
branch here.
Yes.
How many years ago was that?
This the way our office, we had set it up 2023 March.
Okay.
So
you're
but I
coming on
used to
2
work
years
very
now.
closely with a lot of Dubai-based lawyers.
Okay.
So I realized it's an interesting jurisdiction.
It is.
It's fairly simple as compared to UK or India.
Yeah.
I said, why not? Let's do this.
So what areas of law do you cover here? Does your office cover?
Pretty much everything. So as per the jurisdiction here, we can't appear in court because we're not Arabic lawyers.
Okay.
But we have tie-ups with really big law firms. So for those matters specifically, we do tie-ups.
Okay.
Other than that, we do a lot of rent control, property matters, real estate, your corporate, your general corporate commercial, your personal matters, pretty much everything we cover. It's a fairly easy jurisdiction. It's to the point. I love it about this jurisdiction.
So your law firm, if I call you on any personal matter, can cover it. But if I call
course.
you from a business perspective, you can cover.
Yes.
I've called you for transactions on M&A, acquisitions, partnerships, MOUs. I have to say you've not turned me down on any front that I've called. You do have quite extensive expertise in your firm, and that's one of the refreshing things. But I find your firm quite efficient. When I say efficient, I mean fast, but full of a lot of detail, attention to detail and quality. I have other law firms I've worked with in the past, both in my corporate career and as a founder of my own company, who take a lot of time, right? And they need extensive resources, and I have to go through so many layers just to book the next catch-up, the next meeting, only to then have the work produced even further down the line. Whereas your firm are quite efficient. Your communication process, I have to say, is very, very lean, but very straight to the point. And you are very pragmatic. on all fronts.
Thank you so much.
So no, it's been refreshing coming across your law firm. And by the way, it's SGT Associates.
It's
What
SGT.
does SGT Associates
It's
stand
my
for?
full name. So it's Shweta Tewari. My father's been very lucky in my life. I'm
Really?
a complete daddy's daughter. So Shweta Gyaneshwar is my father's name, Tewari. So SGT, Associates, Lawyers and Advocates.
Okay.
I did not apply my mind in branding. When I opened the law firm, I was sitting with these set bunch of guys and like, how do you want the logo to look and this and that? I was like, I do not have the talent for this. Like, what's your name? Should we call it SGT Associates? I'm like, fair enough.
Sure
It's the simplest. I don't even have to sit and explain what it means, what you have to derive out of it.
It sounds like there's a partnership going on, SGT Associates.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the most simplest thing ever to explain anyone where the name is derived from. It's my name.
I didn't know. I thought it was some partnership logo or something. So you had me.
I'm not even kidding. You won't believe who made my logo, which is quite decent.
Yeah.
My office clerk, he was sitting. He's like,
Really?
ma'am, do you mind if I give it a shot? I'm like, go for it.
You know what's interesting? Sometimes when we go into business, we think everything has to be very expensive, very detailed. One of the things I'm learning, and it's so refreshing spending time with you and working with you, is simplicity is key.
Yeah.
And everything doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg.
Yes.
And it still can have high value and there could be a high perception of quality. Because there's a misnomer that for something to be high quality, it should be very expensive. It's not true. It's really not true.
It's not.
You know, you can still get the same level of detail. Again, if you're pragmatic, right? And you compare the value of services out there, there are some very good offerings that don't break the bank. And SGT Associates has been, very refreshing to have within our portfolio. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So let's talk about what it's like to be a woman who owns her own company, but also runs her own, because there are women who own companies, but they hire CEOs, other people to lead the business. You not only own it, you run it. What is that like? Tell me the good things. Except for you telling me I'm on holiday while dealing with one of my cases and I'm lying on the beach and I'm like, sod you.
Honestly, that was actually the thing I was going to say. All I
make
need
your
is a
own
laptop. All I need is a laptop and a cup of coffee. I could be sitting in Spain and doing the work and you would think, oh, Shweta's in Dubai, she's finishing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the liberty for sure.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I told you that I couldn't take up a job, because I was of a very clear view, especially having worked in big law firms and doing the Ragma role, that I don't want my life to look 18 hours of work life.
Okay.
I wanted that balance for myself, even if I make lesser money, which I was okay with.
Okay.
Money has never bothered me as such. I wanted that liberty.
Okay.
When I took the plunge, that liberty was the driving point. Be that as it may, it's not easy, let's be honest.
You work hard.
Yes.
You've answered my call in the middle of the night,
Yes.
across time zones.
Yeah.
You delivered work at I wouldn't even say times past midnight. You do work hard.
Be that, more than the work I can manage, because I honestly, let's be honest, I need a laptop, my brains and a phone. That's all.
Okay.
That's all I actually need. I can be working from a coffee shop or my office, doesn't make a difference.
And that's because you don't go to court in Dubai, but you do travel to India to go to court a lot.
No, but even if I go to court, a court matter is pre-designated as per the date, right?
Okay.
So I would already know that this matter is going to come up. So
Okay.
I schedule my day accordingly around that.
Okay.
So if I have a matter in court, be it here or be it in India, I already know I don't have to fix up any calls on this day, because obviously the court matters tend to go out of your hands sometimes.
Okay.
It overruns the matter. Sometimes you have to go back to the law firm or the counsel. But other than that, the other aspects of running an office, between you and me, day before, so I have to approve all the outgoings. That's quite embarrassing. I forgot to pay the electricity bill.
No way.
In my Bombay office. I thought I'd paid
The
because
lights went off?
No, it did not go off. But one of the guys, the department's guy, came and said, "You haven't paid the bill." That was a really small amount, right? So my junior called me. I was like, "Ma'am, so and so person came and the bill is not paid." So I spoke to the accountant and she said, "We already asked you for the approval." I said, "Let me check." And I realized that wasn't approved. So my juniors thought we are bankrupt and I will not be able to afford their salary next month. And I said, "Please be rest assured, I was just a fool."
You just overlooked it. Delegation. My advice was delegate more.
this is where I agree with you. I need to learn to let it go. I have this problem where I need to be on top of everything.
Right.
Yeah. This is a personal issue.
Okay. So you need to let go a little bit. Yeah. But what else is fun about owning your own company and running your own company, except for the freedom and calling me from the beach while writing a case?
Growth.
Okay.
Your own brand.
Oh, that's interesting.
Even if it's a small brand.
Yeah.
It's fun to know there is something of yours over which is your baby. It's like being proud of your own baby, right?
Yeah.
That I find it very, how do I say it, to be proud of. I don't know where it's heading. I'm still young. Hopefully I make something great of it.
I'm sure you
will.
But
that's just first step to be able to take that.
Yeah.
To look forward to making it great. It's a nice journey to look forward to.
You've written me some documents and some contracts, which I've compared to work produced by big law firms, where I'm sure they farmed it out to very junior people. And in some cases, I will speak well of lawyers I've worked with who've done the work themselves as seniors. I have to say, your quality rivals. And I've worked for some pretty big companies, and we've paid a lot of money to big law firms. I would recommend SGT Associates far and beyond within Dubai, and I hope that your client base grows. But since we are an organization who we're focused on helping people achieve their full potential, I hope that this conversation not only speaks to people within the legal sector and how they can navigate their career, but regardless of what sector they're in, what it's like to be a woman who owns and runs her own business. And you'll be a mentor on our mentoring platform, and that audience will potentially reach out to you for help and advice. What advice do you think you would give to anyone who's thinking about transitioning from being in corporate to running their own business? Or likewise, the gentleman who you told, go back from business to go back to corporate, this is not for you.
That was just being honest. I knew his wife and I knew the kind of money he was spending in the investment. But he does cherish me a lot for that. And he wrote me a very nice letter when he was shutting down the company. He said, I wish more people would be as honest as you are.
Wow.
You're a really great guiding force. And you would be surprised the amount of clients he recommended me is not a joke. So I do cherish him a lot. Even if as a friend, he's no more a client. But we still catch up once in a while.
But isn't that what life is about when we're trying to help people find their way? Is with some gentleness and with love and letting them find their own direction, we push people in the right direction. Maybe you should consider this and not that. And the advice that we give, but also the support. Because you let him be for a year. Yeah.
It's very important, Eghosa, right? To go with the flow. Like you rightly said, we all went through different journeys during COVID. I don't think there was a single human being who was happy during the COVID period. Everyone was struggling. Everyone's journey was very different. Some people lost their loved ones. Some people lost their jobs. It was plethora of things. Everybody was dealing with. How you deal with it, how you ride it. The only negative or the plus point I may say of owning your own business is if it goes down, most of the people tend to quit.
Okay.
When it goes down, you're like, how will you recover? How will you deal with it? But when you go up again, I can guarantee you, it's always going to be 2x.
Is that the growth part that you're talking about?
Yes. Yes. So if you are, let's talk about you. You've been here for a while. You are a business owner.
Yeah.
You must have dealt with similar issues as women in this.
Yes. I was going to come to tell us some of the not so great parts of being a female-owned, female-led business. Look, there are two things that I hang on to right now. The first one is don't put all your eggs in one basket.
True.
That's one thing I've learned. While you may be passionate about the business idea that you have, until it's fully even if it's fully self-sustaining, I don't think you should ever put all your eggs in one basket, because things like COVID are out of your control. There are cycles that could be out of your control that could happen, that could rock your industry. So always have a diversification strategy, okay? That's number one. Number two, when you're starting up a company, be prepared to fail cheap, without all your eggs being in one basket. Like you said, when you drew your logo, it was SGT Associates and your clerk drew the logo. And I have to say, it looks great to me. It rivals some of the other partner named initials that I see out there. You know what I mean? But there are people who think, I've got to go pay a copyright specialist and do this, then copyright the brand. And there's 5,000 and you haven't even made your first revenue yet. The first client hasn't come through the door. And so I think simplicity is also one thing I've learned from you as an entrepreneur. Being here, I think the only thing that you and I talked about as a woman is the level of disparity between how much money men raise from the investor sector versus how much money women raise from the investor sector. But that's a global phenomenon. It's something that the whole world is constantly trying to solve.
True.
And I know that some of the female councils I've seen here have had that as a speaking topic.
True.
And there's a lot of work being done to create funds to fund female-led businesses. And I do applaud the UAE for doing that. There's a lot of effort to helping female businesses get investors and investments put into them, whether from the government or from the private sector. So I would say those are the only things that I've sort of come across as my learning points.
Same here, actually.
You know, but I don't know what else you faced. Have you faced any other challenges have you found difficult clients? Do you find a certain type of client more difficult? Have you been judged? Have you felt like you've been sidelined in any way?
See, this again has been a global thing for me. So it has nothing particularly to do with UAE, which I've dealt with throughout. And it's very relevant in today's time because I'm unmarried.
Okay.
And I am running my show and I don't have kids. And so the first question I get from a lot of my male counterparts would be, how come you're not married?
Wow.
Do you want to ever get married? And I was like, that's quite a personal question.
What's that got to do with your profession?
What does it have to do with me being your lawyer right now?
Yes.
But I have realized, and this is not the only part of the world. I've been asked this question in London. I've been asked this question in LA. So I wouldn't say this is a question focused in the UAE. I've been asked this question. What I fail to understand is that my knowledge as a lawyer has nothing to do with my family life.
Wow.
What choices I have made in my personal life do not have to be discussed in a professional setting.
Yes.
That is something I find very offensive.
Okay, as a female
As
owner.
a female. Would you ask a guy if he was running his own business and he wasn't married? Would we even discuss this
Probably
topic?
not.
No. He would be possibly what you say.
An eligible bachelor instead, perceived as a token.
He would be looked up to like any of these eligible bachelors that we have. He wouldn't be questioned. And I find that quite offensive. But I think it's just the way how the wave functions, the world functions, to say.
Sure.
That is one of the part of the gender disparity that we keep discussing all the time.
Yes, absolutely. And as a female-owned company, do you find from a commercial perspective that people are willing to pay you the same as they would either big law firms or non-female-led businesses?
To be honest to you, I have been very... thankful to say the least that majority of my clients here are actually female.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we have never been, I've never faced this issue because like you know, I don't stick on to the whole hourly business that you have to pay me so much. I'm here to assist my clients.
Yes.
You want assistance, you will get it.
Yes.
You just tell me in advance. One thing I don't find attractive in my clients is they'll keep calling you for advice. They'll keep meeting you for advice, and then they'll just ghost you.
Okay.
They just disappear from
Isn't that a problem with the world in general right now?
With the world in general.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not saying you have to pay me for the hours, but at least don't ghost me.
But you can see why people take upfront retainers. We find it like, oh, come on. But you can see why. This is to provide for people who behave like this. I ask this question because in the normal day-to-day world, we talk about gender pay gap, right? And I'm wondering if gender pay gap in the corporate world translates to commercially being paid differently in the entrepreneur world.
It did happen with us when I was working in a law firm.
Okay.
It was, we did raise this issue with our partners. Now, since I'm my own business owner, I tend to not understand, to be honest with you, what is my peers are making in a job or what they are making in their own standalone firms. But I have made it a very strict rule that in my firm, it's always going to be how good you are at your work.
Okay.
But what you said is correct. I have faced it while I was in another organization.
Okay.
So you would see... I was asked questions when I was in my late 20s and I was in between jobs. When are you looking at getting married? Are you looking at getting pregnant soon? So these are the kind of things you have to entertain when you are, in that kind of field. And I understand where my seniors were coming from because the kind of deals we would do, mergers, acquisitions, they take 6-8 months to close. If I'm leading the transaction, I can't just disappear when I'm getting married because millions of dollars are riding on our approval. So I understood that aspect. But I think after COVID, with everyone changing, work from home being absolutely an acceptable work mode, I don't know how much disparity actually exists because a lot of female friends of mine, they chose to work from home. They were okay with the lesser salary. then the male counterpart, because they were okay to go back to office. So I am not really well aware what the disparity actually exists as of date.
I have to say that I still find that topic slightly controversial for me when people ask questions around plans of having more children or the assumption that a deal would completely collapse if you were to leave to get married for a few weeks or you left for a few months to have a baby. But we'll leave that for another topic where we have an HR specialist to come and address that, because I'm sure there's a whole topic there and rather controversial conversation. But, again, the point being that in the corporate worlds, we know that the data says that there's gender pay gap issues. And I was just wondering if there's any data in the entrepreneur world that maybe male-led businesses can charge more and female-led businesses get bargained to pay less. I was just wondering if that translates. But if it doesn't, then I'm happy to hear that, because what it means is that anyone looking to start their own business shouldn't be afraid that those biases will translate. The quality of your work has brought in the quality of your billings, which is great.
True.
And your clients perceive the work and rather than who owns the company. And that's so refreshing to learn. In my case, in my sector, there are less women.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you, once people find you technically sound, you no longer get the sense that gender is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
You get the sense that the quality of your work is what is being assessed and people are willing to pay just about the same, as long as they're getting technically the same results. So that's refreshing.
That's good
to hear.
Yeah.
So as we sort of wrap up, tell me, what would you say in your career has been the most pivotal moment?
Surviving COVID.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, you have mentioned that a few times.
Yeah, it was.
Why is it so poignant for you?
Because it was my baby. It was like 8 months old. You've done everything possible around setting up the law firm, right? The office was decorated and new furniture, everything is brought in. And within 6-8 months, by the time you could make your first invoice to the client after closing a big transaction, you're asked to shut it down.
Gosh. You left the office?
No, I kept the office. I had to. I told myself that I'll give it 2 years. I set up aside some amount of money. I said, when this depletes, I'm not going back into this office.
So you had planned for scenarios.
So this is one thing I will always tell young entrepreneurs. You don't know what future holds for you. Okay. Have enough, the liquid component of the cash, to be able to survive 1 year of gestation, no matter which profession. If you're setting up something, don't go all fancy.
Okay.
Especially in a professional world, be it legal, be it chartered accountancy, be it architects, all of these professionals, you can start small. You can start and prove your work. Because eventually for these kind of professions, the client is going to come for your brains. He's not coming to see how your office looks. Your office could be very fancy, but you don't have the knowledge. The client is not going to respect you. Okay. So always what you rightly said is that somewhere it's very important on the saving cost aspect.
Okay.
So I told myself that this is the amount of money. When I moved to Dubai, I didn't even have a dirham bank account. Wow. I told myself this is the amount of money I'm getting back from my home country. If I don't make a penny in dirham, I'm wrapping this up and I'm going back.
Wow.
And because I started small, I kept it small. I said, no, let so much clients come and then we'll expand. Then we'll get the new employee. Then we'll do it. So step by step is the right way to go. Don't go jumping and saying, I want to look fancy. I want to wear this belt. I want to wear these shoes. Take your time. Prove yourself. Everybody else will follow you for the rest of your life if you're good at what you do.
How do you build your client base?
To be honest to you, here was how I reached out to you. Nice. I attended a lot of seminars. I did have a lot of friends here, so they put me in touch with the right set of people. And word of mouth really works for me. Like, one client I worked with, they were happy with my work. They would introduce me to 2 more clients. The 2 became 4, 4 became 8. Wow. So that's when I say, start small, let it grow.
Let your reputation speak for you. I mean, everywhere I go, I tell people, no, contact Shweta. She's the best lawyer I know in Dubai. You want someone to work with you, Shweta? Hey, she's your associate. Word of mouth, you're very correct. Yeah, is key. Are you allowed to market, to promote as a lawyer?
Yes. In Dubai and UAE, we can. Okay. Back in India, it's not permitted as per the law.
I did not know this.
Yeah. So that was a different journey because my first client was a very close client to me because he was my first client in my new law firm. And when I set up the law firm, I invited everyone, right? Like, we've set up the law firm. He didn't even blink. And I'm talking this multi-billionaire back in India, right? And he didn't blink. He's like, ma'am, you are setting, I'm following you. I said, done, sir. He said, but bill me half of what your firm used to bill. I said, done.
Really?
I know it doesn't matter to me the money. I just need your brand name that you're associated with my firm.
Okay.
And he followed me. And because he was an association and he kept telling everybody else, well, go to my lawyer. From him, I got 10 clients, 10 became 20. Because we can't market, it has to be word of mouth. Your work has to prove it.
Interesting. I love your approach to being willing to grow with credibility and grow and scale up rather than try to get one big fish.
Yeah.
You want to replicate and multiply organically.
Yes.
It's fantastic. It's been so refreshing having you, Shweta, and I really look forward to having you as a mentor on our platform. And you asked me who will be on there. Look, our target audience is the young career professionals who are just starting up. Anyone who's sort of been in their career for a few years, whether it's industry or personal business, looking to move through that middle, and then life is happening, and towards that senior level while you're making these big decisions on getting to the pinnacle of your career, what that big bang would look like. Is it an executive role? Is it board positions? Is it being a founder of your own business and then scaling it up and getting it to a point where it's sustainable? And so it's just been always refreshing talking to you, by the way.
It's always
I really
lovely.
wish we had a glass of wine that we typically do here.
That's spending at the Arts Club, remember? It's been a while we haven't gone there.
We need to go do another Saturday afternoon there.
I love having a drink with you.
No, it's been fantastic. I think what I like about you is just your humanity as well. And how relatable you are about we're talking about business, but you're so relatable on a personal level. I always really enjoy that about you.
Thank you so much. That's
I
so
look forward
sweet
to people experiencing you on the SeeMe platform as well.
Oh, I look forward to.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shweta.
All right.